Many thanks for joining us. This is the News on 90 International. We're live in Abuja, and I am Ruth Aguela. Let's bring you the headlines. Fourth Federal Executive Council in the year examines minister stewardship in the last 100 days. Key players in the education sector advocate expansion of proposed bill prohibiting sexual harassment of students of tertiary institutions. And World Health Organization sends coronavirus test kits to Africa after first case was confirmed in Egypt. We'll begin with FEC, a meeting of the Federal Executive Council, the highest policy decision-making organ of the Nigerian government, has just ended at the State House in Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari presided over the meeting for the fourth time in the year 2020. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that various memoranda from ministries, departments and agencies are slated for consideration and possible approval. Some ministers also gave account of their stewardship in the first 100 days of the next level agenda. Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo and other members of the council were also in attendance. We'll bring you details of that in our subsequent bulletin. And President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the enlargement of the Interim Management Committee of the Niger Delta Development Commission from 3 to 5. The 5 members of the committee are now Professor Keme Bradikumo Daniel Ponde, who is the acting managing director replacing Barrister Joy Nunwe, Dr. Cairo Odrogbo, Acting Executive Director Projects, Mr. Ibanga Basietang, Acting Executive Director Finance and Administration. Other members are Mrs. Caroline Nagbo and Cecilia Bukola Akintomide, a former Vice President with African Development Bank. Special Advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, said Professor K.D. Ponde, the new Acting Managing Director, is a Professor of Medicine at the Niger Delta University and former Provost, College of Health Sciences of the institution. President Buhari had earlier approved that the Interim Management Committee would be in place till the forensic audit of the NDDC was concluded. Let's look at security. Nigeria is said to be among countries most affected by proliferation of small and light weapons in Africa. This was highlighted when a delegation from the African Union Economic, Social and Cultural Council visited the Nigerian Army headquarters in Abuja, led by Dr. Tunji John Asaulu. Briefing the team, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai, notes that the Nigerian Army has a national database for small and light weapons, which is critical to monitoring and verifying of lost and recovered arms in the country. This is also in line with the African Union desire to silence the gun in the nearest future, to pave way for the much-needed socio-economic development in the African continent.
A number of international and national legal and institutional frameworks towards achieving the goals of the African Union Master Plan on steps to silence the guns. We are also working on the National Weapon Marking Program as one of those schemes by the federal government to ensure that we properly mark all the weapons to be able to be tracked appropriately.
Economic, Social and Cultural Council promised to support the Nigerian Army in the area of research and documentation. And following that development, the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria, which has been a major social problem in Nigeria, experts say need urgent legislative intervention. Against this background, the Senate at Wednesday's plenary considered a bill that seeks to establish the Nigerian National Commission against the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo will tell us more.
Bill 2020.
The increasing numbers of arms smuggled into Nigeria engaged the Senate for hours as it considered for second reading the Nigerian National Commission against proliferation of small arms and light weapons. The bill is being sponsored by Senator Smart Adeyemi,
This has fueled violent conflict, as witnessed in Niger Delta, kidnapping in the southeast, armed robbery in the southwest, ethno-religious violence on the plateau, and insurgency operations in the northeast of Nigeria.
It is a reading taken. The bill is referred to the Senate Committee on National Security and Intelligence to report back within 4 weeks. Thank you very much.
It was a day of second readings of bills in the Senate, 4 of them higher institutions establishment bills. The Federal University of Environmental Technology Ogoni River State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Barry Nadam Pigi, was also passed through second reading. The institution, when established, is to provide academic and professional approach to ensuring environmental sustainability in Nigeria, especially the Niger Delta region.
I want to reiterate that when this bill is enacted into law, the Federal University of Environmental Technology, Sakowa Ogoni River State, will be the first in Africa in these areas of learning and knowledge as a specialized university.
The Nigerian Civil Defense Academy, Bandogari Niger State Establishment Bill, was also passed through second reading. It seeks, among other issues, to provide academic qualifications and professional training for men and officers of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, sponsored by Senator Sani Musa.
The principles behind the introduction of this bill is to provide the legal and institutional framework for the establishment of higher institutions that will bridge the noticeable gap of lack of recognized higher institution to train civil defense corps.
This is one piece of legislation that will support all the effort we are trying to make to enhance the capacity, efficiency, and effectiveness of our security agencies.
Senator Sam Egu drew the attention of the Senate to the death of Professor Chukwuemeka Ike, a one-time registrar of the West African Examination Council and the author of the book, The Bottled Leopard, as the legislators observed a minute silence in his honor. The Police Academy Establishment Bill Wudil, sponsored by Senator Haliru Jika, and the Tertiary Education Trust Fund Act Amendment Bill, sponsored by Senator Abdullahi Adamu, were also passed through second reading. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Thank you, Ignatius. And still staying with legislative matters, participants at a one-day public hearing on sexual harassment of students in tertiary institutions Prohibition Bill 2019 are seeking the expansion of the bill to include primary and secondary schools, as well as work and worship places. The public hearing is part of the process for enactment of the bill in the National Assembly.
The issue of sexual harassment has remained on the front burner in tertiary institutions across the country, prompting the Deputy President of the Senate's motion on the matter, which was subsequently referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters after passing the second reading. Now a public hearing on the matter was held where human rights groups, religious bodies, the civil society organizations, students and members of the academia, among others, had the opportunity to make inputs. The submissions were unanimous that the bill is coming at the right time, noting that it should not be restricted to tertiary institutions, but also seek to protect Nigerians in every sector.
Then, sexual harassment of students by educators have reached epidemics in Nigeria, and that is one of the reasons why we support it.
When students lock up lecturers, and they say, well, we have to teach you here. If you don't review our scores, we will release it to the public. What have the students done?
This is about fishing out those ones who are intimidating and making education experience in tertiary institutions a nightmare.
The committee explained that the bill does not seek to target any group, but to sanitize the use in the tertiary institutions and others.
Somebody talked about the need to also address the issue of cultism and the extent to which they are also enhancing sexual harassment.
Our interest is to build a society where all will be free of intimidation and harassment.
Similar stakeholders at the Senate Committee on Health during the public hearing on the bill to repeal the National Health Insurance Scheme stress accountability, regulatory framework, and adequate funding for the health sector to be able to bring about the desired health care services to all Nigerians.
It is hoped that the proposed law will assist in our renewed drive towards the attainment of the universal health coverage.
We will work and strive to produce an act which assures health care for all, but will protect the poor and the vulnerable.
The committee, however, resolved to reconvene in 2 weeks' time for more input on the bill for an act to establish the National Commission for Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services for effective management of mental health.
Let's look at other issues. With a mission to promote accountability, inclusiveness and transparency in governance, Open Government Partnership was inaugurated in 2011 and adopted by 46 countries, now 10 years after. Onenge Fineface looks at the progress made by civil society organizations in Nigeria as champions of a people-centered government, as chronicled by African Center for Leadership, Strategy and Development.
Actualizing open governance in Nigeria requires inputs from citizens who have knowledge of their roles and capacity to hold governments at all levels accountable. In only 10 years of its existence, African
a framework that is currently supporting the anti-corruption fight.
The LSD anti-corruption work is programmed around promoting transparency, accountability, citizens' engagement and service delivery at the national, subnational and local government levels.
This is only one of several means the center has adopted to make life easy while pursuing social, environmental, political and economic development for Nigeria.
The center's leadership program is basically to promote leader development in terms of expanding the capacity of individuals for effective leadership roles and processes.
At the moment, strategic plans are being formulated by the center to provide issue-specific solutions to challenges confronting the nation. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
And on promoting service delivery, medium and long-term approach that could facilitate a revamp of Nigeria's healthcare system were brought to the fore as Savicom presents evaluation report of 14 federal medical centers. Ngozi Silva Technical reports that the event stirred up emotions with a view to improving service delivery in the sector.
Not have dialysis and they did not require that patient. I had to rush from Abuja. At night, I went and picked my elder to Aminu. Eventually, sir, after 2 rounds of dialysis, that patient came home. I wanted to put it, a petition to the minister against that hospital.
We have looked into some of the challenges that arose at that point in time.
That emotional narrative and subsequent apology trailed the evaluation report of some of the medical centers whose weaknesses and strengths were highlighted by the Savicom National Coordinator, Nena Akajemeli. The core aim, she explains, is to ensure improved customer satisfaction and accountability in the nation's health institutions.
For us, standards and service charters are promises that must be kept.
Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Health, Abdulaziz Mashi, described the report as a real eye-opener, which would be studied critically to overhaul the medical centers. The recommendations contained in the report are expected to address issues of migration of trained health personnel, lack of equipment, and inadequate infrastructure in federal medical centers across Nigeria. Ngozi Silva, Technical, NTA News.
And a look at transportation here. There is a new spectrum of excitement along the Lagos-Ibadan rail corridor as the freight train ride along the axis is not only fast-tracking mobility but giving an insight into the federal government's determination to connect cities in the quest to spur development. Michael Olale reports that from all indications, all challenges ranging from movement of equipment to site to removal of structures inhibiting the port from being accessed by the rail are being precisely addressed.
With the level of work done, Ibadan is just a stone throw, and travelers like Yekini Oyebami did not only demonstrate their preference for the rail system, but believe the achievement recorded so far in the rail sector is commendable.
What the federal government led by President Muhammadu Buhari is doing, if we are having this kind of opportunity from years ago, Nigeria will have moved more faster than what we are having today.
There was no distraction and it was peaceful. If you want to rest your back, you can rest your back and straighten your legs.
You can see the modernization. You can see a lot of comfort that abounds on board.
as the clock ticks, bringing closer the date of delivery of the Lagos-Ibadan rail line. The contractor handling the project is not just intensifying efforts, but devising new ways of overcoming obstacles. The ever-busy Lagos traffic is one of such obstacles. This is, however, being addressed as the rail line is now serving the mobility purpose for construction materials. As the challenges are being surmounted, new ones are emerging, with the removal of structures along the Apapa corridor inhibiting access to the seaports.
We have already entered the port to do some works. We went there last time. You can see it's only excavation we did for like around 200 meters. We have already laid the tracks, completed the tracks there.
From records, more than 1,000 passengers have so far benefited from the free train ride between December 2019 and now. The prospect that the rail system will offer an escape route from the ever-busy Lagos road increased the belief that railway remains the transportation of this millennium. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NT News.
We'll pause for some messages now. We'll be back shortly, so stay tuned.
NTAI has gone mobile. Catch your favorite programs anywhere in the world by going to Play Store on Android and App Store on iOS. Search for Vision TV UK, download and install. Then you're good to go.
Thanks for staying tuned. Justice Hussein Baba Yusuf of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, seated in Maitama, Abuja, has ordered immediate release of the international passport of former National Security Advisor Colonel Sambo Dasuki to him. This is to enable him renew the travel document. The trial of retired Colonel Sambo Dasuki has resumed with an application from the Prosecution Counsel Oluwaleke Atolagbe, withdrawing the earlier one, which sought separate trial for the 4 other defendants in the case. The court also ordered the release of Dasuki's international passport. The prosecution did not oppose the application. Dasuki, former Finance Minister Bashir Yuguda, former Sokoto Governor Atahiru Bafarawa, and 2 others are facing a 32-count court amended charge bordering on criminal breach of trust, misappropriation of public funds to the tune of 33 billion naira. The case has been adjourned to March 13, 2020 for hearing on the substantive matter. Reinforcing the saying, the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain, the Ministry of Defense has presented checks to the next of kin of personnel of the Armed Forces of Nigeria who died in active service. Najatu Tijani reports.
Gone but not forgotten. 184 military personnel who died in active service have left a legacy for their next of kin, who have now gathered from far and near to receive benefits accrued from the years of service of the departed. Binta Abdul Aziz Mohammed is one of the next of kin. The young widow lost her husband in an attack in Jakana Town, Borno State.
My husband died on the spot. I have 3 children, 2 girls, 1 boy. Think now that I have to rely on, I have someone that will take care of my children.
Twice Sarah, Bodude, and a host of others who received checks for various sums of money to boost their welfare say they are grateful for the sacrifice of the fallen heroes. A sacrifice which the Ministry of Defense vows will not be in vain.
We know we cannot compensate you. There is nothing we can do to bring them back. But certainly the Ministry of Defense or the nation as a whole will not forget the services of your brothers, husbands, and your children.
Till 2014, military personnel were excluded from this gesture contained in the Pension Reform Act, but an amendment to the Act has made it possible for next of kin of the departed to benefit from the years of active service.
This initiative is courtesy the Life Assurance Program for the Armed Forces, aimed at providing succor for those left behind. It is expected to assure the future of Binta's 3 children, Sarah's 4, and other next of kin whose hopes are hinged on the sacrifices of their loved ones. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
In other news, Federal and Borno state governments have provided food and non-food items to 30,000 refugees in Difa, Niger Republic. Mohammed Goni reports that Governor Babagana Umar Zulum personally supervised the distribution.
There are over 120 refugees of Borno extraction in Niger Republic, mainly from Abadam, Kukawa, Guzamala and Mobile local government areas of northern Borno, most of whom have been there for over 3 years. Governor Babagana Umar, assisted by the governor of Difa province and other officials of state government, distributed the relief items to the refugees. Professor Babagana Umar says 15,000 bags of rice were from Nigeria Customs Service, while Borno state government procured 15,000 bags of maize and same number of fabrics, as well as cooking oil in addition to 77 million naira. During a courtesy call on the governor of Difa province, Issa Lamin, Professor Babagana Umar appreciated the Nigerian government and Difa province for hosting Nigerians and the show of support. He noted that the presence of the Nigerian refugees has led to overstretching of water and health facilities and assured to complement efforts of the province in that regard. Governor Zulum also expressed willingness to build Borno House to accommodate Nigerian officials coming for engagement in Difa and assist with provision of social amenities, stressing further that Borno will continue to strengthen the relationship even after return of the refugees. From Difa province in Niger Republic, Mahmoud Goni, NTA News.
On the foreign scene, World Health Organization sends coronavirus test kits to African nations after first case was confirmed in Egypt. Let's join Uche Ugochukwu for details.
A warm welcome. Libya's UN-backed government has withdrawn from peace talks after the capital was hit by rocket fire. It said the port was one of the targets struck by forces loyal to General Khalifa Haftar, prompting the evacuation of fuel tankers. The city has been under siege for almost a year and relies heavily on shipping to feed its population. Top negotiations to broker a lasting ceasefire between the two sides in the civil war have faltered several times. German Chancellor Angela Merkel affirmed that she would not interfere in the search for the next leader of a Christian Democrats Union after the incumbent Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer said she would step down. Last week, Kramp-Karrenbauer said she would give up the party chair as well as her ambition of running for chancellor, as she believed one person should do both. Finally, WHO sends coronavirus test kits to African nations after first coronavirus case was confirmed. 40 countries in Africa will be able to test for the COVID-19 by the end of the week after Egypt confirmed the first case on the continent last week. The WHO earlier this week sent reagent kits for coronavirus diagnosis to more than 20 countries in Africa to step up diagnosis of the virus. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu. Thanks for being a part of it.
Thanks, Uche. And talking sports, Nigeria targets Olympic ticket at African Taekwondo qualifiers in Rabat. Ayodeji Makinde will give us details.